Have you ever walked into a room and felt the energy shift against you, without a single word being spoken? That moment when the air feels heavier, the smiles seem forced, and conversations subtly change the moment you step in. You didn't hear your name, but somehow, you know you were just the topic of discussion. Influence is happening all around you, whether you see it or not. People shape perceptions in silence, altering how others see you without ever speaking your name. A simple glance, a hesitation before a handshake, or the lack of acknowledgement when credit is due. These are the weapons of an unseen battle. Most people never realize they're being played in this silent war. They react emotionally, getting frustrated or confused. But power comes from awareness. When you recognize the game, you stop being a pawn in it. And that's when everything changes. Do you really think everyone claps for your success? The moment you start to rise, silent opposition begins. You notice it in the subtle glances, the lukewarm praise, the withheld opportunities that never had an explanation. Why does this happen? Because your success is a mirror. It forces people to confront their own stagnation, their unfulfilled dreams, their lack of action. It reminds them everything they could be but aren't. And rather than stepping up, some choose to pull you down. Sometimes subtly, sometimes overtly, but always intentionally. You have to understand this: not everyone who stands next to you is standing with you. Some people only support you as long as you stay in the role they're comfortable with. The second you outgrow their expectations, they show their true colors. And that's a revelation, not a loss. They don't need to spread rumors to damage your reputation. Silence itself is a weapon. The whispers stop when you enter the room. The energy shifts. Invitations stop coming. Doors that were once open suddenly close without explanation. No one tells you why. You're just left wondering. That's how silent sabotage works. They won't say anything directly because that would expose their hand. Instead, they plant doubt in the minds of others. They let hesitation grow around your name. They step aside when you need support, leaving you to face resistance alone. And sometimes, the hardest part is not knowing who's behind it. But here's what they don't realizing: silence cuts both ways. Their avoidance, their passive-aggressive tactics, their quiet attempts to erase you, they only make you stronger. Because the more they try to dim your presence, the more undeniable you become. People treat you differently when they think you're below them. When you're small, they tolerate you. They smile, they encourage, they even play the role of a mentor. But the moment you start moving beyond them, everything changes. Their support turns into indifference. Their compliments turn into critiques. Why? Because when you were struggling, you weren't a threat. But the moment you gain traction, the moment prove you're capable of more than they assumed, their perception shifts. It's not about you changing. It's about their power over you slipping. And this is where most people get blindsided. They don't expect the shift. They take it personally. But understand this: growth exposes insecurity. It forces people to reconcile with their own limitations. Your rise isn't the problem. Their unwillingness to grow with you is. And once you see that, their behavior loses its power over you. Now that you see it, what do? Most people react emotionally. They try to prove themselves. They argue. They chase validation. They beg for acknowledgement. And that's exactly what your silent opposition wants. They want you off balance. They want you to waste energy fighting battles that don't matter. Instead, use their silent moves as fuel. If they're resisting you, it means you're stepping into something greater. Let their hesitation confirm you're on the right path. Learn to navigate the room with presence, not fear. Move with purpose. Speak with intention. Let your results do the talking. Because here's the true thing: they can't stop what they can't control. They can whisper, they can exclude, they can shift the energy, but they cannot stop someone who is relentless. They cannot deny someone who refuses to be ignored. So don't get discouraged. Get sharper, get stronger, and most of all, keep going. Because when silence is their weapon, your unstoppable momentum is your greatest response. People don't attack the weak. They attack the strong. Nobody notices you when you blend in, when you play it safe, when you keep your head down. But the moment you step up, the moment you break the pattern, the resistance begins. The higher you climb, the more you shake the foundation of those who never dared to try. Think about it. Have you ever seen a crowd gather to bring down someone who was failing? No. But the moment someone starts winning, the moment they refuse to conform, the critics appear. Why? Because your courage threatens their comfort. Your growth reminds them of their stagnation. Your success is a wake-up call they never asked for. Their stagnation. Your success is a wake-up call they never asked for. But here's what you need to remember. Opposition isn't proof of failure, it's confirmation of progress. The fact that people are resisting you means you are moving. It means you are disrupting the status quo. And if you let their doubts, their whispers, or their silence stop you, then you were never leading in the first place. So let them talk, let them doubt, let them resist. Because the only people who never face resistance, success is like a lighthouse. It doesn't create shadows, it reveals them. When you rise, you don't change the people around you, you expose them. Your ambition forces others to confront their own choices. The dreams they let slip away. The effort they didn't put in. The chances they were too afraid to take. And that reflection. It's uncomfortable. It's easier to resent you than to admit they settled. This is why the moment you start winning, some people will pull away. They'll say you changed. They'll say you're different. But in reality, it's not you that changed. It's their perception of you. Because when you were struggling, you were relatable. You were safe. But when you start excelling, you become a painful reminder of what they could have been. So don't expect applause. Don't expect everyone to be happy for you. Success comes with loneliness, not because you left people behind, but because they refused to rise with you, and that's not your burden to carry. Why do people turn against you when you've done nothing to them? Why does success invite resentment instead of celebration? The answer isn't about you. It's about them. Jealousy is not about what you have. It's about what they feel they don't. When someone sees you winning, they don't just see your success. They see their own shortcomings. It's an unspoken reminder that they could have done more, tried harder, taken the risks they were too afraid to take. And that discomfort, it turns into resentment. Not because you hurt them, but because your existence forces them to question their own path. This is why you can't take their reactions personally. When people hate on you, when they dismiss your achievements, when they pretend they don't see you, it's not about you. It's about the story they tell themselves. So let them react. Let them feel what they need to feel. But don't let their insecurities become your limits. Sabotage doesn't always come in the form of direct attacks. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper that stops when you walk in. A connection that suddenly goes cold. An opportunity that mysteriously disappears. People don't have to speak against you to work against you. They just have to make others doubt you. A small hesitation. A subtle look. A lack of enthusiasm when your name is mentioned. These are the tools of silent sabotage. Designed to make people question your credibility, your worth, your right to success. And the most dangerous part, you won't always see it happening. You'll just feel the shift, the energy changing, the support fading, and if you're not careful, you'll start questioning yourself too. But here's the key. When the silence gets louder, when the doubt starts creeping in, don't shrink. That's exactly what they want. Keep moving, keep proving, because in the end, silence can't stop someone who refuses to be ignored. Success doesn't just attract attention, it attracts manipulation. The moment you start winning, people will study you, not to celebrate you, but to find the cracks, to see where you're vulnerable, to wait for the moment they can strike. Look at history. Some of the greatest leaders, the most brilliant minds, the most powerful figures. Many of them didn't fall because of their own mistakes, but because they trusted the wrong people. Because they assumed loyalty where there was none. Because they ignored the warning signs until it was too late. This is why awareness is your greatest protection. Pay attention to patterns, not words. Watch how people move when you're struggling versus when you're winning. Trust actions, not intentions. Because the truth is, betrayal never comes from your enemies. It comes from the ones who had access to you. And if you don't learn to see the difference, your downfall won't be failure. It'll be blindness. If you think everyone who claps for you is on your side, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Not everyone who cheers wants you to win. Some just want a front row seat to watch you fall. You've seen it before. When you've struggled, people check in. They offer advice. They seem concerned. But the moment you start rising, something shifts. The support gets quieter, the energy changes, and suddenly, the people who once encouraged you seem distant. Why? Because some people only like you when they feel above you. Your success disrupts the balance. It forces them to measure themselves differently, and instead of being inspired, they feel threatened. So wake up. Stop looking for validation from people who only show up when you're losing. Stop expecting everyone to clap for your wins. The people who truly support you, you won't have to question them. Their energy won't change when you level up. They won't need you to stay small to feel big. Because real supporters aren't just present when you need help. They're present when you don't. Not every attack is loud. Sometimes it's the absence that hurts the most. The sudden distance. The conversations that stop when you walk into the room. The invitations that never come. The people who once cheered for you, now acting as if you don't exist. It's subtle, but it's real, and it stings in a way that words never could. Because silence carries a message. It says, you've changed. It says, you don't belong here anymore. It says, we see your growth, and we don't know how to handle it. But here's what you need to understand. This silence is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their discomfort. When you rise, you disrupt the comfort of those who choose to stay the same. Your progress forces them to confront their own stagnation, and for some, that's too much to bear. So, they withdraw, they stop acknowledging you. They pretend not to see the very success they once admired. But that silence, that's confirmation. Confirmation that you're moving, that you're growing, that you're stepping into a version of yourself they never expected. And that's a good thing. Because your journey is not about them. It's about you. And the moment you stop needing their applause is the moment you set yourself free. Who does she think she is? He's changed. They're not even that talented. The world will always have something to say. People will whisper behind your back, question your success, and undermine your worth. Not because you've done something wrong, but because you've done something different. And different scares people. But the real question is, will you listen? Will you let their whispers sink into your mind and shape how you see yourself? Because the moment you seek validation from those who resent your growth, you hand them the power to define you. You allow their insecurities to dictate your confidence. You let their fear become your hesitation. You have to understand. Most criticism doesn't come from people doing better than you. It comes from people too afraid to step out of their own comfort zones. Their words are not a reflection of your limitations. They are a reflection of their own. So, stop letting their whispers weigh you down. You are not here to be approved by the fearful. You are here to rise, to grow, to become everything they said you couldn't be. And when they whisper, let them. Just make sure you keep moving so far ahead that their voices become nothing but distant echoes. Rejection. It stings, doesn't it? That moment when someone closes the door in your face, when your ideas are dismissed, when the people you thought would support you suddenly turn away. It feels personal. It feels like failure. But what if I told you rejection is not a stop sign? It's a signal that you're moving in the right direction. Think about it. When you refuse to stay where you've always been, some people will resist. Not because you're wrong, but because your progress exposes their stagnation. It forces them to ask themselves, why am I not moving? Why am I still stuck? And rather than confront that discomfort, they push you away. Rejection is often proof that you're growing beyond the limits others set for you. Every great innovator, leader, and game changer faced it. The world rejected them. Until they succeeded. Oprah was fired. Steve Jobs was removed from his own company. J.K. Rowling was rejected 12 times before publishing Harry Potter. Imagine if they had taken rejection as a final verdict. So, the next time someone shuts you out, remember this: you are not being pushed away. You are being redirected towards something greater. Rejection is not a loss, it's a test. A test to see if you believe in yourself enough to keep going, even when others don't. History is filled with people who faced silent attacks yet refused to break. The entrepreneur who was dismissed until they built an empire. The artist who was ignored until their work changed the world. The visionary who was laughed at. And now it's your turn. The absence of applause does not mean you are failing. It means you are stepping into a level where validation is no longer required. When they stop clapping, when they stop inviting you, when they pretend not to see your success, it's because you've outgrown their expectations. You are no longer confined by their version of who you should be. This is where most people give up. They take the silence as a sign to stop, to shrink, to return to the comfort of belonging. But not you. You are not here to fit in. You are here to rise. Because when the world stops acknowledging you, you have two choices: shrink back into their approval, or rise so high that their silence becomes irrelevant. You already know which choice leads to greatness. They may turn others against you, but they can't turn you against yourself. Reaction is a choice. And some battles aren't worth fighting. When people try to discredit you, when they whisper behind your back, when they withdraw their support, your greatest weapon is not retaliation. It's discipline. It's knowing when to speak and when to let silence do the talking. Because not everything deserves your energy. Some attacks are nothing more than a desperate attempt to pull you down. And the moment you engage, you lower yourself to their level. But when you refuse to respond, when you remain focused, when you keep building while they waste time tearing you down, that's power. The most dangerous person is the one who doesn't seek approval. The one who moves forward, unaffected, unshaken, unstoppable. The one who refuses to break. Let them expect you to fall. Let them wait for your reaction, and then disappoint them by thriving. Because success is the loudest response you'll ever need. If no one is resisting you, you're not pushing hard enough. Think about it. People don't waste time criticizing something that doesn't challenge them. No one attacks what feels ordinary, predictable, or safe. But the moment you step outside the boundaries of what's expected, you disrupt the status quo. And that's when the resistance comes. The moment you start chasing something greater, voices will rise to stop you. They'll question your ambition, doubt your vision, and try to pull you back into comfort. Not because you're wrong, but because your courage exposes their fear. You represent the action they never took, the dreams they abandoned, and the potential they ignored. But here's the truth: resistance is the clearest proof that you're on the right path. If you were still playing small, they wouldn't even notice you. If you were still living inside their expectations, they'd have nothing to say. The question is, will you let their resistance stop you? Or will you use it as confirmation that you're breaking through? The loudest opposition always comes when you're closest to something great. Keep pushing. Keep going, because the waves you're making now will become the storm that carries you forward. Diamonds don't get tested in soft hands. They get struck against stone. Look at every great success story, and you'll find one thing in common. Pressure. Pressure to succeed. Pressure to endure. Pressure to keep going when everything seems against you. But pressure isn't your enemy. It's the force that transforms you. Imagine a lump of coal, worthless, fragile, unremarkable. But put it under immense pressure, expose it to intense heat, and over time it becomes something unbreakable. It becomes a diamond. Your struggles are not here to break you. They're here to shape you. Every doubt, every setback, every failure. It's all part of the process. The greatest achievers weren't born into success. They were forged in fire. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before perfecting the light bulb. The difference between them and everyone else: they didn't let the pressure break them. Growth isn't supposed to feel comfortable. It's supposed to challenge you, stretch you, force you to become something stronger. The people who win in life are not the ones who avoid struggle. They're the ones who embrace it. So when life applies pressure, don't crack. Adapt, evolve, become the diamond you were meant to be. Every challenge you face comes with two choices: stand tall or shrink back. Face the resistance or let it push you into the shadows. The truth is, opposition is inevitable, but how you respond is entirely up to you. Some people retreat at the first sign of difficulty. They avoid conflict, they seek approval, they lower their ambitions to fit the expectations of others. They convince themselves that staying small is the safer option. But in reality, shrinking isn't protection, it's self-destruction. And then there are those who refuse to shrink, the ones who rise despite the criticism, the ones who see rejection as redirection, failure as a stepping stone, and enemies as unintentional motivators. They don't ask for permission to be great, they take it. So, ask yourself, which one will you be? Will you stand firm in your vision, or will you let the fear of judgment control your future? Will you push forward despite the resistance, or will you shrink to make others comfortable? At the end of the day, the world doesn't reward those who hide. It rewards those who rise. The choice is yours. You're not being rejected. You're being redirected. You're not losing. You're evolving. You're not alone. You're outgrowing. Rejection is one of the most misunderstood experiences in life. Most people see it as a stop sign, a failure, a personal attack. But what if rejection wasn't meant to break you? What if it was meant to push you towards something better? Think about it. How many times has a no led you to something greater? How many times has losing an opportunity forced you to create something even bigger? How many times has walking away from the wrong people made space for the right ones? The truth is, every closed door is a blessing in disguise. You didn't lose. It wasn't meant for you. You didn't fail. You were redirected to something greater. You didn't get abandoned. You simply outgrew the people who weren't willing to grow with you. Growth means leaving behind the familiar. It means stepping into the unknown, trusting that every loss is making room for something better. So, the next time life shuts a door in your face, don't break down. Don't question your worth. Don't beg to be let back in.
Instead, smile, because you're not being rejected, you're being redirected. Not everyone will understand your journey, not everyone will support your vision, and that's okay, because greatness has never been about approval, it's about conviction. Every world changer, every innovator, every leader had to walk through seasons of being misunderstood. Steve Jobs was called crazy. Nelson Mandela was called a criminal. Elon Musk was ridiculed for his ideas. But they didn't stop, because they knew something most people don't. The need to be understood is the enemy of progress. If you require constant validation, you'll never build something groundbreaking. If you wait for permission, you'll stay stuck. If you need everyone to believe in you, you'll never believe in yourself. So here's the final question. Are you willing to be misunderstood? Are you willing to chase a vision no one else can see? Are you willing to walk alone, endure the doubt, and trust that one day the same people who mocked you will be the ones applauding? If the answer is yes, then keep going, because the opposition you face today is proof that you're on the right track. Who holds the pen that writes your story? Is it them or you? Every day people will try to define you. They'll label you, box you in, and dictate what you can or cannot do. But the moment you accept their definitions, you give them power. You let their voices become louder than your own. Think about it. How many dreams have died because someone said, "You're not good enough"? How many people have settled for less because the world convinced them they weren't capable of more? But here's the truth. No one gets to decide your worth except you. Every great leader, every innovator, every trailblazer had to make a choice. Stay trapped in other people's expectations or break free and define themselves. Steve Jobs was fired from Apple before returning to build one of the most successful companies in history. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. The world doubted them, but they refused to be defined by someone else's limitations. So ask yourself right now, who have you been listening to? Who has been shaping your decisions? Because if you let them define you, they control your future. But if you take that power back, everything changes. This is your moment. Tear off the labels, reject the limits, and rewrite your story on your terms, because the only person who truly defines you is you. Picture a lion standing in the wild, confident, unshaken. It doesn't look around for approval. It doesn't ask the sheep for validation. It knows exactly what it is. A king. Now, contrast that with sheep. They follow. They huddle together, seeking safety in numbers. Their fear keeps them moving in the same direction as everyone else. They never step out, never question, never dare to lead. So ask yourself, are you a lion or a sheep? Most people let the opinions of others dictate their lives. They hesitate, they shrink, they play small because they're afraid of what people might say. But real strength isn't found in approval, it's found in certainty. A lion doesn't need permission to be great. Neither do you. Think about the greatest minds in history. Did Elon Musk wait for people to believe in his vision? Did Oprah Winfrey stop because someone doubted her? No. They moved forward like lions, focused, determined, unstoppable. It's time to stop explaining yourself to those who don't see your vision. Stop seeking validation from people who don't even believe in themselves. When they doubt you, let them. When they criticize you, ignore them. Their words do not define your destiny, because at the end of the day, a lion never loses sleep over the opinion of sheep, and neither should you. Resilience isn't about avoiding pain, it's about transforming it. Every successful person you admire has been tested. They've faced rejection, setbacks, and criticism, but here's what separates them from the rest. They didn't break. They built. Pain is inevitable, doubt is guaranteed, but weakness is a choice. Look around. How many people do you see crumbling under pressure? How many give up the moment life gets hard? But what if, instead of running from the struggle, you embraced it? What if instead of fearing failure you used it? Think about a diamond. It's just a rock until it faces pressure. It's the struggle, the heat, the intensity that turns it into something valuable. You're no different. Every insult, every rejection, every disappointment is fuel. The more they doubt you, the stronger you become. The more they criticize, the sharper your focus gets. The moment you stop seeing challenges as obstacles and start seeing them as training, you win. You want resilience? Stop letting pain define you. Stop letting failure break you. Instead, make a decision. No matter what comes, you will rise. No matter who doubts you, you will push forward. Because mental strength isn't about what happens to you. It's about what you choose to do with it. History doesn't remember the ones who talked the most. It remembers the ones who did the most. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. They dismissed her. She didn't argue. She proved them wrong. Thomas Edison was labeled a failure over 1,000 times before he invented the light bulb. His teachers said he was too dumb to learn. He didn't fight back with words. He fought back with results. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. He didn't sit around explaining why he deserved a spot. He worked in silence until no one could deny him. Do you see the pattern? The ones who succeed don't waste time convincing people of their worth. They don't beg for validation. They put their heads down and do the work. Right now, someone doubts you. Someone thinks you won't make it, and that's fine, because your job isn't to prove them wrong with words. Your job is to prove them wrong with action. Stop explaining yourself. Stop justifying your dreams. Let them doubt you. Let them dismiss you. Let them laugh. Because in the end, when success speaks, no words are needed. Powerful people don't talk about what they're going to do. They just do it. Look at the most successful people in the world. They aren't wasting time arguing with doubters, responding to negativity, or proving themselves with empty words. They're busy working. Weak people seek attention. They need to be seen, heard, and validated. But real power moves in silence. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a billionaire arguing with critics? When was the last time you saw a champion explaining why they deserve to win? They don't, because they don't need to. Their results speak loud enough. The more you talk, the less you do. The more you explain, the less people respect you. Want to gain power? Stop announcing your plans. Stop seeking approval. Move in silence and let your success make the noise. So here's the challenge. For the next 30 days, speak less and do more. Work in the dark. Build without talking. And when the results come, you won't have to say a word. Because success speaks louder than anything you could ever say. People will try to turn others against you. They'll spread rumors, twist stories, and plant seeds of doubt. But none of that matters unless they achieve one thing, turning you against yourself. And that is the one battle they can never win, unless you let them. They can take your reputation, but they can't take your vision. They can spread lies, but they can't erase your purpose. They can try to block your path, but they can't stop you from moving forward. You see, the only thing that truly destroys a dream is self-doubt. The moment you believe their lies, the moment you let their words shake your confidence, that's when they win. But what if you refused to break? What if, no matter what they did, you stayed committed? Imagine the power in that. Imagine knowing, without a shadow of a doubt, that nothing can stop you except you. So let them talk, let them plot, let them do everything in their power to bring you down. Because as long as you stand firm, as long as you refuse to turn against yourself, nothing can stop you. Your purpose is yours. Protect it, honor it, and never, ever let them take it from you. The world will try to silence you. It always has. It'll tell you to stay in your lane, to lower your voice, to fit inside the box they built for you. They'll say you're too much, too loud, too ambitious. And when that doesn't work, they'll make you doubt yourself. But here's the question, will you let them? Because every time you hesitate, every time you shrink yourself to make others comfortable, you give them power. Every time you hold back your truth, your ideas, your vision, you give the world permission to ignore you. And history doesn't remember those who stayed quiet. It remembers those who stood tall, spoke boldly, and refused to be erased. Think about the voices that shaped the world. They weren't the ones who whispered. They weren't the ones who guessed themselves into silence. They were the ones who spoke up, even when their voices shook, even when the world pushed back. So ask yourself, what's more painful, the discomfort of standing in your truth, or the regret of never speaking it at all? Because in the end, your voice is your power, and the only way they win is if you let them take it. A tree that grows tall will always face the wind. That's the price of standing high. The moment you step into your power, resistance will come. The moment you start rising, the world will push back. But look at the strongest trees in the forest. They don't bow to the storm. They brace against it. Their roots, deep, unshakable, hold them firm. They don't apologize for growing tall. They don't shrink themselves to avoid the wind, and neither should you. Because the moment you begin to rise, people will question you. The moment you step outside of their expectations, they'll try to pull you back. Not because you're wrong, but because you remind them of everything they never became. But here's the truth. Resistance isn't a sign to stop. It's a sign that you're becoming something greater. It's proof that you're on the right path. The higher you go, the stronger the wind. But the higher you go, the better the view. So when the storm comes, don't bend. Don't break. Let it shape you. Let it make you unshakable. Because in the end, the tallest trees are the ones that refuse to fall. If you wait for permission to be great, you'll be waiting forever. The world isn't designed to hand you approval. It's designed to keep you doubting, to keep you seeking validation from people who never even believed in themselves. And if you let that control you, you'll live your life in chains, afraid to take a step until someone else says it's okay. Validation is a cage, and too many people live trapped inside it. They spend years chasing approval, bending to opinions, waiting for someone else to tell them they're good enough. But here's the truth. No one is coming to validate your dreams. No one is coming to give you permission. You don't need them to believe in you. You need you to believe in you. Because the moment you stop seeking approval, you start moving with power. The moment you stop waiting for validation, you start building momentum. And when you finally let go of needing to be understood, you unlock something unstoppable: freedom. So walk without permission, move without approval, because the ones who change the world are never the ones who waited for the world to say yes. When words fail, results speak. You don't argue with doubters, you outperform them. You don't beg for respect, you earn it. They can dismiss your dreams, mock your ambition, call you delusional, but they can't ignore results. So don't waste your energy trying to convince them. Don't water down your vision just to be accepted. Let your work do the talking. Let your progress be the proof. Because success doesn't need an explanation. It doesn't need approval. It doesn't need applause. It only needs consistency, discipline, and the courage to keep going, even when no one else sees the vision yet. So don't explain, execute. Don't justify, show them. Let every step forward, every win, every breakthrough be the only response you ever need. And one day, the same people who doubted you will be the ones trying to figure out how you did it. They'll doubt you. Let them. They'll turn people against you. Let them. They'll try to break you. Let them try, because in the end, they don't decide your destiny. You do. The greatest revenge isn't anger. It isn't proving a point. It's rising so high that their words become irrelevant. It's outlasting every obstacle, overcoming every setback, standing firm when they swore you'd fall. So let them watch. Let them wait for you to fail. Let them convince themselves you won't make it, and then prove them wrong, not through words, not through arguments, but through action, through resilience, through the relentless, unstoppable pursuit of everything they said you'd never have. Because the final stand isn't about fighting them. It's about proving to yourself that you were always meant to rise, and when you do, they won't just see it, they'll never forget it.